Thanks, Gary, for producing today. I appreciate all that you do for UnitedWeStrike.com. I'd like to thank all of our other producers, Detlef and Alan. They do just a great job producing us, helping to keep those OSM moments that would be oh shucks moments away. As much as we're, as much as we get played with by external entities, let's say. But anyway, I'd like to thank the listening audience for tuning in today. I disagree with Gary. It is not March, it is May 10, 2014. And thank you for tuning in to the United Way.
I'm only a couple months behind the times. What the heck?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that missing time theory with you, Gary. But I'd like to...
and no, the little gray alien did not probe my... Never mind.
Thank all of our guest hosts joining us this evening. We really have a great lineup of hosts on UnitedWeStrike.com anymore, and it's always interesting to hear what everyone's talking about, and we all have these great ideas and great things to teach our audience. So I invite you to stick around for this hour. Joining us today is Kevin Galali. He's our newest member here on the Roundtable, and he is our newest member here at UnitedWeStrike.com. We'll get to him in a second. Then we have Larry Pinkney, who you heard just a little while ago, Pamela Tartar, who has her segment Critical Mass now, Am Rosen, Suzanne Posel, who we just heard, and Gary Hendershot, and myself, of course, is Matt Navarro, host of the New World Odor Report. First, I'd like to have, because we know, Larry, you have to go soon, but I want you to get an introduction to Kevin. Kevin is our newest host here. I'd like Kevin to introduce himself, and then we'll go to you, Larry, so you can give us your thoughts, and then we can let you go. But welcome.
Thanks, man.
Kevin Galali, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gary. It's a pleasure being among you guys. Of course, I know a few of you already, Suzanne Posel being one, Dr. Rima Lebo, and as well as Vince Eastwood, but the last two, of course, are not here right now at the Roundtable. Well, I am reaching you from Rome, Italy, but as you well know, I am not Italian, I am Canadian, and I'm Canadian of Romanian origin, but I am here temporarily on this hunger strike at the Vatican, which is a very unusual move, and I'm sure that many people wonder why and how. Surprisingly, in the short period of time that I have been here, which is only 22 days, the public seems to have awakened to the reasons for my being here, and I find that I'm flooded with messages of goodwill and support from all over the world. To the extent that I can hardly keep up, I receive probably anywhere between 500 to 1,000 messages a day. So I spend innumerable hours communicating with the public at large from all corners of the world, and that, of course, is very heartwarming, and it gives me the strength that I need to continue to do this. And surprisingly, I have had absolutely no problems dealing with the hunger so far, and I suspect it is partially because of all of this support that's pouring in from all over the world. Now, whether I'm going to be successful here or not remains to be seen, but I sure as hell I'm going to try my best, and I suspect that failure will be caused, if it comes, rather than triumph because of the financial situation. But still, I have hope that even that is going to be resolved. And so far, we have scratched by every time there was the time had come to pay for another month's rent. Of course, Rome is a very expensive city, but still, being here is a thrill, and I consider myself privileged to do this, even though some people will say, wow, Kevin, why do you put yourself through all this tremendous hardship, and how the heck can you go, for so many weeks without food? And surprisingly, the food issue is a non-issue. I have not experienced hunger for a single minute over the last 22 days that I have been starving here at the gates of the Vatican City. And even more surprisingly, the Vatican has remained silent about my presence here, which really, the silence indicts them more so than if they had spoken and either come clean or try to defend themselves. But of course, in this day and age, there's nowhere to hide. This is the digital age, and here we are, half a dozen of us communicating from various parts of the world on the same forum. That was just not possible a few years ago, let alone a decade ago. And this is why this system is crumbling now. It is crumbling because common people like us have taken the baton, and we're filling the gap that has been left, this huge, gap that has been left by the mainstream media, because they are not doing their jobs. They are there to deceive and conceal, and we are here to do their jobs for them, and we're doing it from the goodness of our hearts and without any pay whatsoever. We do it because it is our civic duty, and because our lives are at stake, and the lives of our children, and the very future of this planet. Yes.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. I can appreciate and admire your self-sacrifice in your efforts to do what's right for humanity. We are at that point in time that we have to. Not a stranger to self-sacrifice. Larry, say hi to Kevin. Kevin was, like yourself, falsely jailed 6 times for his belief systems, much like you were.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I want to say this, if I may, right away. Kevin, you've already won the victory. It's a matter now of expanding that victory. The victory has been won by you being there, you and others. This is what it's about. And I have to say that I admire your courage, your determination, your integrity, and, your revolutionary zeal. So, brother, keep on keeping on. All power to the people.
Thank you, Larry. I think you are perfectly right in saying that the victory is already ours. Now it just has to be acknowledged by the powers to be.
Right.
Well, Larry, tell us what's on your mind before you have to get along going. But we appreciate you. Never mind. We appreciate you joining us tonight on the Roundtable and being a part of the UnitedWeStrike.com marathon.
Well, Matt, I want to say first of all to you and all the the stalwart supporters of UnitedWeStrike.com and the marathon in particular. Thank you, because it's about all of us together, and it is deeply appreciated that you put the hard work, the determination, the vigor, and all kinds of things that, quite frankly, people don't even know about into this. So, thank you, and thank all of our listeners. I thank all of our listeners. Now, what's on my mind, quite frankly, is that I believe that we are on the brink of real change. That is to say, change brought about by everyday, ordinary, black, white, brown, red, yellow folk, you dig? I'm talking about people who are struggling on every level throughout every continent on Mother Earth. On Mother Earth. And, the closer we get to bringing about real change, the more these jackasses, these swine, let me just stop using adjectives. The point is, the closer we get to it, the more we will have the corrupt, insidious, insipid, corporate stream, lamestream media either ignoring outright or distorting and lying what is happening on Mother Earth and throughout our countries. Kevin mentioned that he's in Italy. Well, the fact is that he may be in Italy physically, but he's with all of us wherever we are, whether it's Asia, whether it's Africa, whether it's Europe, whether it's North America, South America, Central America, or wherever. I want to pass a message on to everyday ordinary people of all colors and both genders. I want to pass a message on of strength and determination. You've heard the expression that when the darkest cloud has a silver lining. We, the people, everyday ordinary people. We are that silver lining. And I want to say thank you to all of my sisters and brothers and sisters, for all that you do. You are not unsung heroes and sheroes. You are sung in the hearts and the minds of everyday people who are struggling to bring about real change and to destroy this new world order, as you call it, Matt, the new world order. Let's get rid of that order once and for all, that so-called order, because that order is nothing more than managed disorder to try and destroy us all, but we're not going to tolerate it. So it's a big shout-out to the world, to the planet, to everyday ordinary people. It's a big shout-out from Larry Pinckney to say thank you and all power to the people.
Hey, thanks a lot, Larry. You know, we appreciate your voice in this matter. You are a long-time warrior against New World Order. You know, if you want a good interview, you want to listen to a good interview, go back to my website, nworder.com, and look for last year's, or maybe it was earlier this year. Go to the podcast link anyway. And we interview Larry, and he, you know, tells us his background and all the troubles that he went through because of his beliefs, and that you always advocate that people around the world, no matter their color, no matter their sex, you know, join in helping to restore the freedoms that we should rightfully claim in this new world order. And we thank you, Larry. Anything else you want to give us a plug of your website before you leave?
Well, let me just say this. I want to plug UnitedWeStrike.com first and foremost. I want to say once again, emphatically, once again, to all of our listeners around the world, thank you. Intensify, and intensify some more. What you can read, anything in terms of what I have written, interviews, etc., on Black Activists, that's BlackActivistsWG.org. BlackActivists.org stands for Black Activist Writers Guild.org, or you can simply Google Larry Pinckney Archives. Larry Pinckney Archives, no dot anything, just Larry Pinckney Archives. Or you can read my writings on Intrepid Report. I'm an associate editor and writer with Intrepid Report. That's intrepidreport.com. Again, the main thing here is to thank all of you brothers and sisters, all of you sisters and brothers around the planet of all colors. We have got to learn to take care of each other, because if we don't, we cannot take care of ourselves. I end by simply saying, as we said back in the day, all power to the people.
Thank you, Larry. We look forward to hearing you back here again next month with your co-host, Phil Restino, and you can catch Phil and Larry on Wolf Spirit Radio as well. Thanks again, Larry, for joining us. Okay,
thank you.
Pamela, you're one of our newer members to the UnitedWeStrike.com roundtables. We had you premiere last month. How have you been? What's on your mind?
Well, thank you, Matt. I'm great. I'm intensifying my resolve to bring attention to our true nature as human beings, and thank you for asking. I'm so happy to be here, and on every one of my shows that I do on our network, puremomentum.net, I do mention United We Strike Radio Marathon. And I want to spread the news about everything that I support. I tell everyone about Suzanne and her websites, and that's what we've got to do. And my number one goal right now is to bring humanity to realize that our true nature is so amazing and that we're so far away from it and we need to come back. That's my message. Everyone else has their own area of intensity, and that's wonderful, because then we can each put our piece of puzzle together and have a big picture. And so I think that's just absolutely amazing. And one of the things that I would like us to remember is that one of the big tools that the opposition to all life uses is this divide and conquer. So I do not comply with the divisiveness, the thing that separates us, all of the different categories that people find themselves in through this this trauma-based programming. I'm not going to comply with that, and I'm going to look for people to come back to their true nature, which says we're human beings first, and everything else comes after that. And our world will change once we come back to our true nature and recognize the fact that we are relatives. All organic life are my relatives and your relatives. It's just that we don't act like it. We don't recognize it at the moment. But thank you for that that wonderful welcome to United We Strike Radio Marathon. I am so happy to be here. And the name of my show is Critical Mass, because I know we're at a tipping point right now. I feel the energy, and rather than react in fear, I'm going to the other side of the crisis word, which is opportunity. And this is a time when we can take the opportunity and intensify the work that we do, like Larry just said. Don't give up. Let's work harder. And that's what we're all doing. And so I'd invite people to, of course, come to puremomentum.net. And I have a 2-hour show there, and we have other hosts there that will give us information that we need to come back to our true nature. So thank you so much, and hello, everyone on the Roundtable.
Thanks, Pamela.
I almost forgot. Hello, Kevin. Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you too, Pamela.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pamela. Am Rosen, you're always about us fixing us, and always so eloquent about it. How are you this evening, and what's on your mind?
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's good to have a chance to connect with all of you. Well, there's a lot on my mind. I'm in having come to really understand what human consciousness is, how it processes through various levels of perception, how it's developed, where it's been stuck and why, and what's involved in fixing all that, bringing back harmony and balance so we can clearly and comfortably move on. My question is, how can I make people aware of what's really accessible to them, most of which they're not aware of? So for a moment, looking back at all the things that have been said on today's show and on various United We Strike marathons, I would say right now we exist in a state of dynamic disequilibrium. We've been marching, so to speak, ass backwards into the future through a cesspool of expedient compromises. Our innovative brilliance, there's no doubt about it. But in the mad scramble to survive, to adapt, to get power, to socialize, we've taken a lot of shortcuts. Somebody else will clean it up down the line, and we've created a lot of problems. Too much here, not enough there. Now, when we think of...
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Suzanne, you might want to...
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's good to hear such a heartfelt thank you. When we think about...
she was enjoying your words just that much.
Oh, well, right back at you. It's a pleasure to share. When we think about, leaders or people who have been given the privilege of service, of being responsible for a lot of the power that's been invested in them, we'd like to think that these people really, not only are they educated and basically intelligent, that's a minimal requirement, and socially adaptable and astute, but do they have the comprehensive understanding to facilitate the kind of movement that's necessary to bring this planet, societies, as they're expanding and interlapping with each other, into a harmonic state of balance where we're not destroying, sacrificing here to get ahead there, which of course brings down the whole system. We're talking about people who have a concept of the healing art. And if you push one part of the body, the nervous system, too hard, in demanding, and sometimes it's an emergency, sometimes it's necessary, but you're using up resources, you're using up nutrients. You have to replace them. If not, you create an imbalance, which will eventually defeat the purpose of the whole system. It comes back to quality of life. And quality of life is always, without exception, determined by our state of mind. Now, I heard, I believe it was Pamela talking about our true nature. That's a nice point. What is our true nature that not we want to get back to? Because I would say we haven't quite reached it yet. We've been working towards coming into functional accessibility of our true nature. You know, we're born with a lot of potentials. As an infant, newborn infant, we're born with the potential to walk, talk, and eventually have sex. But a newborn infant can't do any of those things. The metabolic and neurological circuits have to be developed, come online, integrated, put into practice before these potentials become actualized. Well, as a human species, we're born with a lot of potentials. And slowly through the march of societies, ages, cultures, we've been developing some of those. But as I said, a lot of short-sighted, expedient compromises. So the question is, what's running the trip? And right now, I would say what's running the trip has been our ignorance-generated fear, doubt, confusion, and anxiety. Now, if you understand how consciousness develops and why and how, it's easy to see where all this came from, how it's been adapted and interlaced through every form of cultural development. But it's also quite easy to see exactly what's involved in shifting this. Not denying, not saying this is bad, got to get away from it. You can't, because the liver isn't working, the rest of the body can't say, okay, I'll get away from the liver. Or if the heart isn't properly circulating blood, you can't say, well, who needs the heart? My colon's working okay today. Probably isn't, because if one part goes out, it eventually imbalances everything. We need to take the systems we've developed and bring them into focus in a way that is beneficial. But the reason we're having so much trouble is because so many people running the show are not that developed themselves. They've got a lot invested. This is what they know. This is how they know how to react. So for me, the purpose of United We Strike is to bring together insights, ideas that give us a sense of not just what we don't want to be, because to get keep away from something, you keep fixating on the negative. You got to call it for what it is. But where do we want to go? And that's kind of what's on my mind, what I'd like to keep talking about.
Well, I think we have individually, as you pose the question, what it takes to do what is necessary to unite the world in a single peaceful bit of non-compliance against the New World Order. And that we do what we do here at UnitedWeStrike.com is to help people who are willing to listen and teach others to listen to information that can help make that come about. Suzanne, you haven't gone yet. What did you want to pick up on what Ann was talking about? Or welcome to the show, and what's on your mind?
I'm sorry I interrupted you, Am.
Always a pleasure, Suzanne.
I wanted to talk about journalism, because last night I was talking with my husband about what information can do. And a lot of people comment on social media asking me, well, what is your opinion about this? And I don't write op-ed pieces because my opinion is inconsequential. When you're dealing with evidence and facts, opinion is not relevant. So what I thought that information was supposed to be was something of value if you give it to someone who has the ability to do something about it. And I thought that was my role as a journalist, to find information that I can give to you, the audience, everyone listening. I'm writing these articles and giving them to you because you are the one who can do something about it. If you have good information that is factually based and documented, and you know that it is a real issue and a real problem, then you know that it has a real solution. And so when I put together these articles, I do it with the expectation that I'm giving it to someone who has the ability to do something about this. And that is you. You have the ability to stop complying. You have the ability to protest. You have the ability to write your congressman or your House representative on the state or federal level and demand justice for whatever issue you're bringing forward. So the information contained in a news article, in my opinion, should be given to the person who can do something about it, because at that point the information has value. If I have a fact, that information is no good unless it is in the hands of people who are willing to do things about the fact. We can know everything. We could endeavor to know just about anything that's ever been questioned or postulated or theorized. But if we don't do anything about that information, the information has no value. And if we complain about the information and not do anything to try and stop it or change it or make it better, then it's in the hands of the wrong people. And so that information has to keep flowing, because eventually it's going to end up in the hands of the right people. The other thing I was thinking about, and I was discussing with my husband, is we talk about knowledge being power. Well, we've discovered a lot of things that are absolutely egregious and nothing's changed. So my question to you, everyone listening, is maybe it's not that knowledge is power, maybe it's that sharing is power. And when we share information with people, like I said, eventually we're going to find that person who can do something about it. So keep the information flowing. Keep sharing the information. If you're not the person who can do something about it, that's fine. No judgments placed upon you. Pay it forward. Share it to someone else. Give it to someone that you think might be able to do something. If they can't do anything about it, pay it forward. Share it forward. Give it to someone else. And eventually, it will end up in the hands of that person or those people who will start that protest, who will stop supporting the big box stores, who will close their bank accounts, who will not sit down idly while our constitutional republic is further destroyed until it's unrecognizable. So that's what's been on my mind the last 24 hours.
You know, that you share your information and you're willing to write articles is excellent. You know, you're doing something about it. You're being a voice on the internet. When I first was on the internet many years ago, the internet was just a bunch of text, command-driven, Unix-based language. And then the World Wide Web came around, and I recognized it as the most democratizing invention in human history. And what I mean by that is every person who has access to the internet can become their own publisher. They can publish their own information without the filters that is generally in place when getting information through the corporate controlled media, newspapers, magazines, radio, TV. So that people like you can do what you do is very I find that very helpful, and that I like your idea that each person, if the information is not for you, share it with somebody else, because that's what I keep advocating here at UnitedWeStrike.com, is to plant seeds everywhere you go. That seed might not blossom for years to come, but if it does, you've done that person a favor. So keep paying it forward. Like Suzanne says, Gary, you're out there where this kind of doesn't apply because of the area you're in. They're near Washington, D.C. The whole world doesn't function according to normal rules there. What's on your mind this evening?
Well, I think I should probably pick up where Larry Pinckney and I were discussing earlier, just as Larry Pinckney's session was winding up, Larry and I have been in this fight for a while. I was out there with a ponytail and a Harley back in the '60s, raising a sign said "Hell no, I won't go." And I was pepper gassed and maced and water cannoned with the best of them. We just had us a great old time. And at this stage, guys like Larry and me, we're getting kind of long in the tooth. We were kind of cogitating over whether the battles we've been through over the last 45 years have really paid off, and commiserating on the fact that our time's just about done. Have we at the very least prepared a new generation to carry on? And I got a little bit of optimism, a little bit of hope from Larry, and that he thinks that we may not, we thought we had won the war, when the black man could sit anywhere on the bus that he wanted, and if a woman didn't want to wear a bra, she didn't have to, and we got that war knocked off, and we thought we had won. Went home, decided to take a job, raise our kids, and see what we could do about having a normal life, because we thought we thought it was over. We thought we had won. And gee whiz, 10, 15 years later, you put your head up and you realize, holy cow, we might have won a little battle, but if anything, they've come back even harder, faster, and stronger than they were before. What kind of a world am I about to leave to my children? But, I think we have prepared a next generation to take up the struggle. We didn't get in this pickle overnight. It's been a multi-generational war that's been waged against us. We were a little slow waking up to it and realizing what was going on, and I'm afraid that it's going to take multiple generations to resolve it. But I do have hope that even though this war may not be won during my lifetime, the struggle will go on. And one of these days, I do believe that we shall overcome. Just got to be patient.
I have that belief as well, but unless we're around and the next generation is around to have more generations, we're sunk. And that's why I do what I do here at UnitedWeStrike.com, is to help awaken people to the fact that we're being exterminated. And so that's what since we've gone around the table once, I'd like to pose these two questions to our panel and discuss it. And that's the questions are: what is your view on depopulation, one, and two, what is your answer? And we met Kevin earlier, but he is all about depopulation, so I'm sure he'll have something to say about it. Kevin, what is your view on depopulation, and what is your answer?
Well, the system is certainly morally and fiscally bankrupt. It has decayed into a hideous monster that has absolutely no semblance to any of our norms and values, ideals and expectations. It has really reached a level of depravity that is unprecedented. And what I see is that our so-called leadership has failed, and now they better move out of our way, or else they will face our wrath. And now, for the past 5 years or so, we have been asking nicely. We didn't quite know what was wrong. We had an inkling that everything is wrong, but we couldn't put our finger on it. Well, now we know exactly what is wrong. They know exactly what they have been hiding from us. We know exactly the kind of methods they're using to see us gently into oblivion. And there is no way in hell that I, as a father, could allow anybody to poison my children, or your children for that matter, and not do absolutely everything, including laying down my life if necessary. I'm here in in Rome to give the system and those people within the system who are the shakers and the movers the chance to listen to us while we are asking peacefully and nicely that they better back off or else. Because if they don't take this opportunity to back off while we're asking gently, I will be the first to pick up arms if necessary, and to defend our children and to defend our lineages and to defend our future. Now, Am mentioned that the world is in a state of dynamic disequilibrium, and yes, I understand that it is. We are moving from a world organized according to nation states to a world united, a global world, for better or worse, a borderless world. And I know that those policymakers have, good intentions, but they have proceeded in the wrong way by concealing the facts and concealing the truth. Simply because, yes, at the beginning, when this all started, there were just all kinds of obstacles in the way. But those obstacles are no longer there. Now the time has come for them to trust us, to trust that we are capable and just as intelligent and just as rational as they are, and that we don't need to be bullied and forced into into a plan, a preconceived plan that they have, where a single human being and 100,000 and a million or a billion have no significance in light of the fact that they have this 1 billion people or one individual stand in the way to the grand objectives that they have planned in their backroom doors and backroom rooms. And that's just unacceptable. We live in a completely different time, and these depopulation methods they're using on us are truly diabolical, and they are causing such irreparable damage to our health, to our mental integrity, to our genetic endowment, to our intellectual endowment, that we cannot possibly allow this to continue. This is, Larry said that we have generations, and we may not win this battle for generations to come. We don't have that luxury anymore. We don't have generations. This is now or never, because as I have shown in my research and numbers and statistics, 25%, that's a quarter of the Western population, has been shut out of the procreation game. These people have come to an end. Their lineages, their genetic lines have been brought to an end by this engineered demographic transition, or genocide, if you want to call it that way. And that is just completely unacceptable. For these lineages to be here today, countless generations have fought and died and made sacrifices so that their children will survive and thrive into the future. And now, our own leaders, the very people that we've entrusted with our well-being, with our rights, with our liberties, with our institutions, they are doing this to us. They have become, our enemies. They are the enemies of mankind because they don't trust us. And to have this kind of disdain and this kind of lack of respect for the human spirit and for our abilities is just completely unacceptable. I mean, if I, who was 5 years ago a total stranger to geopolitical matters and global matters, if I could discern on my own, and despite all of the obstacles that stood in the way, in great detail of how the system operates and why, and what the goals are, and what the world needs to do in order to survive into the future, if I could do this on my own, despite these obstacles, then everybody can do it. Once the information, our access to information is freed, once instead of the system lying to us and manipulating us, they will enlighten us and educate us. There is no excuse for the people in the system to continue in the manner that they have proceeded for the past 68 years. And if they do, then they are digging their own graves, because we as fathers and as citizens cannot possibly allow them to poison us into extinction. that is just completely unacceptable.
I would agree.
People have accused me, of attempting of being too ambitious. That one man cannot change the system. Well, I know it's not just me. I'm building on the work of countless others before me, and I'm sure that countless others after me will bring the world forward towards a better future. I've been accused that I have a messiah complex. I don't. I did not start this until I was 45 years old. If I had had a messiah complex, I would have behaved like a messiah long before I reached the age of 45. Well, I'm 48 years old now, and the reason I've stepped forward is because there is just no leadership out there. We have a bunch of bureaucrats and technocrats working within these humongous organizations and bureaucracies, and they are so caught in the system, and they're so deprived of conscience and consciousness because the system dictates their entire mode of being and actions, that they are no longer even human. I call them system freaks. And I don't want to be a system freak, and I don't want my children to be a system freak, and sure as hell I don't want my children and my children's children to be victims of system freaks. And that is why I stand up, and I've drawn the line in the sand, and I said, no more.
Indeed, and I guess you're proving your point on a daily basis. Pamela, what is your view on depopulation? What is your answer?
Well, thank you. Of course, there is a depopulation program, many of them, and they're very detailed. And Kevin so brilliantly talked about the chemicals, mentioned the chemicals, and we know they're there. They're in the air and the food and the soil and in our water, of course. And there's also toxic thinking programs that have been out there, and they've been enacted, and they've worked very well for them. We don't often think of this as part of the depopulation, but rather than investing in ourselves and in our families, we've been pushed to invest in, and we've been programmed to this end, to invest in the systems, the very systems that are set up to murder us, the very systems that are set up against human life and all organic life. And so now, not only are people not as able to have children because of the chemicals interfering with hormones and the literal ability to have children, but the thinking is that, well, I can't afford children, and I don't have time to really be a responsible father or a mother, and both parents have to work, so why have children and let someone else raise them? I mean, all the details are there that induct us into their program of depopulation, and we don't even know it. We don't even recognize that we again are the resource that is fueling these very systems that are set against us. And the peoples that knew that had a real connection to the natural order and knew their connection to our Mama Earth were murdered. And a lot of times we use the word eugenics, which is kind of a clean-sounding word. But when you hear the word murder, they were murdered. And all of these peoples that understood how important it was to have families and to be parents and to teach children and pass wisdom down, those tribes and those peoples have been massacred. And they've used us to do it many times. Of course, we're always the resource that does the dirty work. And the answer to this is that we absolutely must realize that we do have the power. And as Am said, we can't come back to a nature that we don't know about. But we do have access to part of our nature, part of our true nature. And as we make choices to become aligned with our true nature, more of our true nature will unfold, because it's like any muscle you use. As you use it, it gets bigger and you want to use other muscles. I mean, people that are into walking don't just walk. They do other things to support themselves physically. And so my last talk on puremomentum.net was on transhumanism. And what got me fired up was I heard a guy talk about how humanity has reached its peak. And in order for us to evolve further, we must merge with machines. And boy, that just lit a match under me, because I'm totally against that. That is insane. That is moving us into becoming machines. Why would we give up our amazing humanity to be a machine? And you can't be part machine and part human. You're either a machine or you're a human being. And I, of course, did my show on transhumanism, saying that we are blocks from the programming that we all live under on this whole planet, has blocked us from being aware of our true potential and our power. And a testament to our power, even the power that we don't know about yet, is that every way that it can be blocked, it has been. So the answer is, again, come back to our true nature. We don't know it all. Of course we don't. The potential is so amazing and massive and multidimensional. But if we can live in what we have access to now, we can come to our power. And one of the first things that's in alignment with our true nature is the power of choice, which is amazing. And we can choose to not comply and not be the fuel and the resource for these systems of depopulation. We can look at our food and not eat the chemicals when we can know they're there, and I know we don't always know. We can filter our water so that we get the fluoride and the chemicals out as much as we can. And, you know, there might be a day where we have to wear masks to filter out the air because it's getting so bad. But there are things that we can do to stop these programs, and we can't do them all, but we can pick a few, and if each of us pick a few, we can make a difference. And I am energized because I know people like all of you that are aligning with your true nature and are not complying with the systems that are set against us. And that gives me more fuel to work harder, and I hope I do the same for each of you. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to give my piece on what I know about how powerful we are, and we can go up against the depopulation systems. And we're all doing it, and I appreciate each one of you for doing your part.
Well, thank you, Pamela. You know, it's good to add you to the chorus of voices here at UnitedWeStrike.com. Every one of us can do something. Every one of us can do something to help resist the New World Order. And one of the simplest things you can do is stop using fluoridated toothpaste. You know, how simple is that? I'd like to introduce a latecomer to this roundtable, but he's always welcome, and he's one of our regular hosts here at UnitedWeStrike.com, is Vinny Eastwood. Welcome, Vinny, and our topic tonight is depopulation. What is your view? What is your answer?
It can't happen fast enough, in my opinion. I'm just joking. I've been arguing with a whole bunch of chemtrail deniers who are from university and everything. Let me read out the comment. I'll try and bleep out the swear word. I've been forced to use my alternate account to note that when I accepted Vinny's offer of a debate with Dane Wigington, the coward Eastwood immediately blocked me. That's because when he sent me a message asking for a debate with Dane Wigington talking about the chemtrails and the depopulation agenda, all he did was abuse me. And it continues. I once again give my email addresses for Mr. Wigington to contact me if this cowardly, scientifically illiterate, sheep-shagging Kiwi minion would be so kind as to pass it on. Now, for the record, Eastwood, you were lower than a snake's cowardly little maggot. You know? And
you attract quite the listener to your audience.
Yeah, that fella should tell us how he really feels.
Yeah. And this guy's email is, he's an alumni at the University of Newcastle. So this is the educated people we're turning out. This is his most recent this is his second most recent Facebook post on his own wall. I've decided to stop wearing underwear.
Wow.
You know,
he's obviously drinking the fluoride, right?
I have noticed an inverse relationship between education and intelligence. Haven't anybody else noticed this? Like, the more educated you are, it's almost like they drum the intelligence out of you, the ability to think, the ability to reason. I mean, if somebody came up to you and they wanted like a genuine debate, like an actual scientific debate and what have you, how many names would you call them? You'd probably call them none, right? Because you'd have the presence of mind to know that people who get verbal abuse and what have you generally aren't amenable to your times of things. Like, I don't go up to people and say, hey, there's a depopulation agenda. F you, do I? Because it just doesn't work very well, son. And these people don't get it because they're just not that bright. And you can check out these threads and go to my Facebook page if you want, facebook.com/Vincent Eastwood. And you can have a look at this intellectual version of midget wrestling if you want. Go for your life. You know, it's a lot of fun. Other than that, when we talk about depopulation, one's got to really think about this. How many people really deserve to live? I know that sounds really cold and really horrible, but I'm being serious here. How many people actually earn their existence? How many people know that there's a good reason for their existence and choose to do nothing good with it? Right? Are you going to try and save your own life? There was a great joke. Came out of New Orleans. Man was standing on top of his house. The water was rising. And a boat comes along. And the guys go, jump in the boat, we'll save you. And the guy goes, no. God will save me. And he goes, okay. The guys in the boat row off. Powerboat comes up next. And they go, mate, you're up to your ankles now on that roof. Jump in the boat, we'll save you. And he goes, no, God will save me. And then he's up to his neck in water. And a helicopter comes in. And they lower down a basket. And they say, mate, jump in the basket, we'll save you. The guy goes, no, God will save me. And he died. And then when he died, he went and he saw God. And he said, God, look, why didn't you save me? And God says, bro, I sent a rowboat, a powerboat, and a helicopter. What did you expect? And what this happens is people are so confident that they'll be saved by something else rather than actually have to save themselves. Is kind of the point I'm trying to illustrate here. And I think that, you know, in order to earn your life, you have to realize the value of it, don't you? And I would be remiss to say that most people know the value of human life. They don't care about their own lives, nor do they care about the lives of others. They don't care about feelings being hurt. They don't care about anything. And ironically, this is actually the part of the depopulation agenda's fault, isn't it? They've destroyed our genetics. They've destroyed our fertility. They've destroyed our society. They've destroyed everything that makes us human, haven't they? Does this strike anybody as kind of inherently tragic? And on top of that, the other scary element here, like the really scary element, is how many people with our kind of viewer persuasion who knows what's going on in the world and don't do anything to stop it. This is the other thing that's actually really concerns me. It's people who actually are aware and choose to do nothing.
Yes. May I there for a second?
Sure.
This is the very kind of behavior that Vinny mentioned. People who know, but who will not say anything, and that is when, you know, I start thinking, well, perhaps the depopulationists are right. If people have decayed to such a state of immorality and indifference, then perhaps they do deserve to be wiped off the face of the earth. Of course, I have to revert, you know, to the high ideals that I hold, and I have to put the ideals in front of me in order not to dilute them by the poor examples of the many people around us. But unless somebody at least, you know, carries the flame of these high ideals and, you know, keeps unless we keep our eyes on these high ideals, then everything is going to decay into something hideous. And I find that unforgivable, as Vinny has found, that people who know will shut up for whatever reason. There is no reason to be quiet about this. It is absolutely unacceptable and incomprehensible, because by being quiet, you are becoming complicit in your own demise and in the demise of your own children. And if you, as a human being, as a father, as a citizen, if you don't have what it takes to stand up for your children, then perhaps you really don't deserve to foul the face of this earth with your presence. And perhaps then the populationists really do have a point in calling, such people useless eaters.
But what's ironic here, Kevin, is that they made these people into useless eaters by dumbing them down deliberately. So it's like calling the Holocaust natural selection, or calling the BP oil disaster a natural disaster.
Yes. They created this kind of human beings. They have zombified the human race. That's the best word that I can find. And many of these people, you mentioned, also the so-called educated people who cannot see the forest for the tree. Well, there is a term for that. They're called trained incapacities in sociology. They're so over-specialized and focused on one field of knowledge that they're completely idiotic about anything else. And they're so invested in the system because their entire careers and future depend on being plugged into the system that they cannot even conceive that those who pull the strings from the very top have bamboozled them and are using and abusing their skills, whatever skills they have, into outcomes that are in complete opposition to their own best interest and to the best interest of their own children. So, of course, they find that very hard to accept, but because in accepting that, they realize what idiots they have been all along. That is a very, very hard thing to come to accept.
Actually, what's more depressing than realizing you're an idiot? Being just smart enough to realize how much of an idiot everyone else is.
Yes, I think you have the courage to wake up from your idiocy one of these days and face the brutal reality, however brutal it is, and to confront, the facts as they are, and to find the solutions. And I in my own humble way, I have done just that. I know what the problems are. The population has to be tackled one way or another. There's no way that anybody can allow the population to double every 30 years, and that is the natural growth right now. And 7 billion will become 14 billion by the middle of the century. That's just impossible. The world, the earth cannot support that kind of population, and something has to be done. But they don't have to approach this issue in this manner anymore through covert poisoning. We have the wherewithals and the compassion to understand that we have now to completely rethink what we're doing, how we're living, and that we are destroying this planet unless we change our ways. But we can do this. I mean, we can do this. If the Chinese can do it, if they can implement a one-child policy, well, we certainly can implement a two-children policy, which is what it will take to maintain the population stable. And nowadays, most people don't have more than 2 children anyway because of the covert poisoning, mind you. But there's no reason why we cannot restrict ourselves and our families to only 2 children for as many generations as it takes to stabilize the global population, to make sure that human civilization lives within the regenerative capacity of Mother Earth, so that we don't do irreparable harm to our Mother Earth.
In the interest of time, gentlemen, in the interest of time, gentlemen, we're going to have to kind of jump to the next host here so we can give Gary a break. He's been producing for a few hours now. So I wanted to comment on what you said, Kevin, though. I believe we should have a choice of whether we want to be poisoned or not. I'm not in agreement that we should have some kind of depopulation program. We might discuss that later. But I wanted to get everyone else's opinion on this as we go around the table, and everyone can jump in. But we want to make sure we keep this moving. Am, your thoughts on depopulation? What is our answer?
All right. Well, there's a biological constant. No organism can survive in an environment of its own waste. Now, population, people living on this planet in various pockets with various degrees of access. What is the purpose of a person living? It's everybody wants once you're here and survival takes over, you want to explore what's available to you. You want to live a life. Now there are the biological imperatives. Then there's reproduction being one of those, and all the social and cultural things this brings. We have to make a living, we have to relate. But there's only so many resources. And with technological advances, we've been able to milk them at an amazing rate. Why are we doing this? Well, in some ways we say, look, we've gotten rid of, we've gotten more control of disease. We've been able to take some of the workload off of people and make life better, and that's true. But this has been done with such short-sighted expediency because, it was brought up, there's a lot of overeducated dummies out there. They know a lot about things, but they don't intellectually comprehend how to functionally relate them to the whole scene, whatever situation they're really dealing with. But so they go for what they know. Why? Because they need to maintain their sense of viability, their sense of survival. And what that comes down to is who they think they are. Well, I've achieved this, I'm a good person, I'm educated, blah, blah, blah. Whatever I have to do, I'll do. I think it was Kevin that was mentioning moral imperatives. The missing link in all of this, and it needs to be comprehended and integrated, are feelings. Right now, no matter how brilliant we are, we say these things, there is a difference between intellectual contemplation of a possibility, a range, a potential of motion and of access, and actually knowing how to create that access and feel comfortable with it. No matter how brilliant we become intellectually, how much we push that, and we often do it to the distress or imbalance of other parts of ourselves, that's not what's running the trip. Right now, the subconscious patterns we've inherited from our primitive beginnings are what is running the trip. And when you can't summon up the will to keep saying, this is how it has to be, and discipline yourself, or if you do, you become hardened and crystallized and actually somewhat detached from what's going on, then we revert back to the feelings. Feelings have only one imperative. I get what I was patterned, conditioned, and or programmed to feel I should want. And if I get it, even if what that is ultimately self-defeating, detrimental to my existence and well-being, as long as I get it, I feel right about it. And if I don't get what I was patterned, conditioned, or programmed to feel I should want, then even if it's for the most intelligent of reasons, scientifically validated, I feel wrong about it. This is a war zone that exists. How can people be susceptible? Because people are operating at different levels of psychological competency and or mostly incompetency. Psychology, psych, mind, the whole process, the whole field of awareness, and there's a number of things that go into that, different levels of perception, each with their own territory, their own way of processing, interacting with others. Ology, the study of how we think and process. Right now it's in its infancy, and it's mostly being used to adapt people to their own confusion rather than liberating them. We can't sustain an ever-expanding population. We have the science fiction dream of we'll get to other planets. Why? Because we need space. What do we want space for? To live a life. Why do we want to live a life? We want to experience. We want to learn. We want to grow. But we keep, as long as this primitive, irrational, illogical, unreasonable aspect of our psyche is what's running the trip, we're going to create problems, whether it's on the illiterate end, the bottom, the uneducated, or whether it's on the summa cum lousy top of the educated spectrum. And this is what needs to change so that we can manage our resources. Could scientists do that? No. not alone. Until they learn the art of application in a comprehensive way, not just have intelligent facts, because you can get reductionism. I got this fact, it works for me, it gives me power, gives me access, I'm going to conform everything towards that. We need to stop conforming things to the lowest common denominator and start raising everybody to the highest accessible point of our understanding. And I don't just mean this as an intellectual idea. I am introducing it as that. I'm talking about functionally grabbing hold of the nervous system, freeing it. Then population starts to straighten itself out. A lot of people are running out of fear-based ignorance, for stimulation and distraction. I've got all these things, I'm unhappy. Well, at least I can do this, I can do that. And they're easy to manipulate. Take away that susceptibility, and people start to say, what's really going to make my life work? State of mind. You could have all the material accoutrements that are available to you in the world and still not know how to enjoy them, oh, I got them, see, I'm special. What are you trying to do? You're trying to say, I'm not as bad as I'm afraid I might be. Fear is irrational. So in terms of overpopulation, that resources have to be managed. It's part of our responsibility, our ability to respond to this, what we've invented, which is we wouldn't have extended populations without our technological innovations. But they are not being used in a way that allows us to have a quality of life that would slow down this madcap, subconscious, primitive drive state and harness it into something that's really quality for everybody. Not relegate it, not lock it up, but really facilitate human potential.
With that said, let's go to Suzanne. Your thoughts on depopulation and your answer, please. What is your answer for depopulation?
Well, listening to Am, it made me think that this is a self-esteem issue. You know, we take someone else's flawed opinion of ourselves and make that our reality. So whatever people think about us, we defend that like it's part of us. If it's not true about you, if that person doesn't know you well enough to make that judgment call and place that value on you, then why do we care? Why do we care if someone calls us a name, no matter who they are, if they're a senator or our neighbor? Why do we get all upset? We know that we're not domestic terrorists. So Harry Reid calling us domestic terrorists is a joke. I don't care. But a lot of people got upset. Suzanne.
I'm a domestic terrorist.
We have this problem where we let someone lie to our face as long as we are receiving a benefit. And I'm not saying whether that benefit is positive or negative, because that's up to you. Some people like negative benefits because it gives them something that they need and they're looking for. We call them masochists. Some people give out benefits that hurt us and we still go for it, or we are the ones hurting, giving out that benefit, and we are sadists. And so there's a dance that we create with each other, whether we're speaking in social media or actually interacting with people in our lives, where we accept their opinion, whatever they say is true about us, as our own. And indeed, we also put the labels that are pre-described based on whatever group we want to belong to, that now we're a conservative, or now we're a right-wing extremist, or now we are a Democrat, or now we are this, that, and the other. We are. And who is looking through those eyes is no respecter of anything. It just is. And so when we take someone else's flawed opinion of ourselves to be our reality shifts in favor of that flawed opinion. And so when we look through these eyes, we see all of this devastation. We see all these things that we don't want. But we still participate with the liars because they give us something that we feel is a benefit to ourselves, whether it hurts us or it helps us. And so maybe we need to be more conscious of what we allow inside of us to disrupt what we think about ourselves and how we project ourselves, and maybe not be so focused on giving ourselves a label or defining ourselves with a group, but just being the thing that we want to see. If you don't see anyone being kind in front of you, step up to the plate and be kind. If you don't see anyone sharing around you, step up to the plate and share what you have. And other people will scratch their heads and say, why is Sally, why is Johnny sharing? Why are they being kind? Because the act of paying it forward and gratitude and empathy toward another human being, regardless of what they did, sparks something in that recipient that they will then someday pay forward. And that is how we change our reality.
Ooh, you said that nicely. Moving right along, I appreciate that, Suzanne. We'll go to Gary, get his thoughts, and then I'll give you my ideas on what I think about depopulation. We'll open up the floor to anybody who wants to speak, wrap up things, and then we'll go once around the table so everybody can give out their websites and do some blatant self-promotion, as Gary calls it. But Gary, your thoughts on depopulation and your answer.
Well, it's sad, but about a year before he died, I was at a protest where Russell Means was speaking, and he'd always been kind of one of my heroes for many, many years. I followed his teachings and his writings for a long time, and I wanted to meet the man. So the protest was over, things were winding down, and I happened to be walking towards my car, and I happened to see him standing by the standing on the curb, waiting for his ride, I guess. And I wanted to meet the man badly because I'd admired him for a long time, and I just walked up to him, put my hand out, and said, "Hey, my name's Gary Hendershot, and I just want to tell you I really appreciated hearing your speech and got a lot of admiration for you." And he looked at me, and of course, I kind of passed for a white guy, I guess, so he kind of looked at me and he said, "You understand, of course, that everything they did to my people, they will do to yours." And I had to stop and think about that for a moment, but, yeah, I can see it. I can see it happening. We are the indigenous population of Turtle Island at this point, and yeah, we are indeed being invaded, and our invader is breeding at an astonishing rate, something the Native Americans thought of the early Europeans, and our people don't seem to be keeping up with their loss of population. I mean, if you look, those of us who pass for being white guys, we're kind of a dying race. We're not even replacing our numbers. So it's what happened to the Native Americans, if you stop and think about it, is now happening to the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island once again. And it's I think thought-provoking to think about it in those terms, but why is it happening? Is it a matter of resources? Is it a matter of just not enough room? No, it's the same old thing that's been going on for thousands of years. Those in power will do everything in their power to retain that power, even if it means the rest of us are just going to have to die and make room.
Well, I'm not that pessimistic. I prefer to think that we, as a human species, can maintain our existence because we know that the New World Order's agenda is to exterminate 80 to 90% of us. That's what depopulation means to me. Whether you recognize it or not, or have the mental capacity to recognize it or not, it makes no difference to me. I believe every individual should have the right to live and choose to conduct their lives no matter how irresponsibly one might view their choices. I think of it this way. If people were to stop eating GMOs, stop ingesting fluoride, stop getting vaccinated, stop eating foods that have pesticides and glyphosates in there, stop taking prescription drugs, then perhaps they will become unzombified. Start eating well, start detoxing, and start chelating all those toxins out of your body. Perhaps they will function more effectively as human beings and can make better choices about their world. How do they do that? Well, if no one's out there to wake them up to the information available that will keep them healthy, then we can't save them. We can't save the human race from extinction, which is exactly the path we're on. Okay, then the answer has to be not only us, but people like us, but people in the listening audience. It has to be people in our audience who understand that if they do nothing, their children will not have children. If they do nothing, their neighbors will not have children. They do nothing, none of their family lineage will continue. This is it, right here, right now, this space in time. There is no other space in time. We're eating GMO foods now. We're being sprayed with chemtrails now. We're drinking fluoridated water now. We have bisphenol A in our plastics now. We're being sterilized. So I think the answer is UnitedWeStrike.com and programs like this, and our listeners and listeners like ours. So I'd like to open it back up to the floor. Anybody want to jump in and give their thoughts about this? Vinny, you were just aching to go.
Excuse me. Allergic to radio comment. Now there's. I'm so totally sorry about that. Actually, I didn't burst anybody's eardrums. Now the subject's depopulation. And I came up with a good job. Who was it? Kevin Galilee is like the Deepak Chopra of depopulation. He's Deepak Chopra. You see what I'm saying? I thought that was funny, but maybe it's just not. Okay, and the other element that I'm working on now is about how exactly you can bring this information to people's minds in the first place. I mean, because it's like, it's not exactly like you put it up on TV and happy smiley faces. Hey, everybody, by the way, you're being freaking exterminated by a bunch of ruthless criminal sociopathic scumbaggery. And you go, oh, okay. That's kind of frightening. Like, yes, it is. Then why don't you? Well, what are we going to do about it? Well, I think awareness is number one. And here's the thing: how exactly do you communicate that to people in a way that they're going to accept? I've started to realize that being accepted is one of the great deceptions of life. Okay, I went to high school. I tried to be accepted. Didn't work. I went to into the working world, tried to be accepted, didn't work. The answer is to all of this is just say something. Don't do nothing. Okay, it takes a huge amount of mental faculty just to be able to deal with these kind of people who deny everything in the existence of reality. Okay, it'll actually hurt you and destroy your life trying to keep up with them. It's not worth it. Doctors realize that triage is about saving who you can save. If somebody's willfully ignorant, say one thing. It's called the information grenade. You pull the pin, you chuck it in, and you walk away out of the blast radius. So that if they go angry and aggressive and go, you know, then you don't have to be in the room to deal with that Shiite Muslim. And the other element here, and I think this is actually probably the more important one, is about dealing with people that you know the truth, but again, as I iterated further, choose to do nothing. Now, we've been educated for a long time. You know what, actually, I'm taking way too much time, aren't I? I'll try and finish the sentence. We've been educated for a long time with two words: learned helplessness. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're aware of the depopulation agenda and you feel helpless to stop it, then just take the analogy of a mosquito in a room, and you tell me that one small little thing can't upset a big process.
Thanks, Vinny. Anyone else want to jump in before we go around the table and give out our websites?
I'd like to
say the last word, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Am expressed beautifully the need for a new consciousness that would include also a sort of a rational approach to the material realities and limitations of this planet that we live on. And it is clear to me that this new higher consciousness is within everyone's reach. Now, if our elites could reach consensus on this, so will we, the common people, once we know the facts. Give us the facts, and we will make rational decisions. Give us lies and lead us astray, and we are going to make irrational decisions. The problems that we face as a species, as a civilization, cannot be solved by science or by the elite. They cannot be solved by a top-down approach. They can only be solved by universal participation. It is as simple as that. And this new consciousness and this universal participation will teach us, will force us as individuals to no longer think just about ourselves. That's a luxury we can no longer afford. We have to think of the planet as well. And we also have to think of future generations as well. But this new consciousness is already here. It has risen in the hearts and minds of at least 2 to 5% of the population, and it is now spreading like wildfire. So I ask our leaders to get out of our way, to clear the way for this consciousness to take root and to spread like wildfire, rather than for them to stand in the way of this change, this evolution that is occurring naturally, not because of them, but despite of them.
You know, if I can jump in, I'm sorry. Somebody else would? You know, we're, as I've often reiterated, we're either going where we want to go, which is towards a more expansive, inclusive, integrated state of awareness, or getting rid of what's in the way. In that sense, there's nothing negative. Everything becomes an opportunity. Is this making me uncomfortable? Good. It's a misunderstanding. It gives you a chance to unravel it. You know, and Kevin, let me say hi to you. I didn't do that before, and welcome. You certainly add a plus to the conversation. And Vinny, he reminds me of an old Starship lyric, the tongue of a master, it should be laughter, like a guiding wheel that takes for the sad and the weak man. But coming back to this, I think what we need is not just what we don't want. The reasons this is all going on are really understandable and obvious, but everybody's so invested. We need some place to pull towards. What does it look like if we were to get our act together? What is it we're talking about? So imagine, if you would, that all these conflicts that drive us crazy, each individually, all these deep, dark senses of fear and confusion, the guilt, the shame, it's all resolved. Our nervous systems are no longer co-opted. We feel at clear and at ease inside. We feel secure. And now we're ready to really get it on with each other, to see what works and doesn't, and make changes, because the quality of our inner space is so calm, so rewarding, so peaceful, so expansive, that it's not a sacrifice anymore, it's an adjustment. It's a correction that allows us to have even more. We need to know that that can be accomplished, and that if that spreads like wildfire, so to speak, then all these systems that are right now so imbalanced can be turned around easily. But as long as the predominating level of consciousness predominates, we will continue in various aspects, variations and extremes of the same nonsense we've been doing for a long time, because all this we've been discussing, this has been around us in one form or another, to one degree or another, since we first started to slug it out for territory. Just wanted to throw that in.
Indeed, Am. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us here this evening. All our hosts are so interesting to listen to. I'm sure this conversation could go on for hours with the brain power that we have here and all the brain cells that are firing currently. But we have to wrap it up so we can give our great producer, Gary Hendershot, a break so you can get something to eat. So, Am, your closing, continuing thoughts till next month, and your websites, please.
Oh, thank you.
Radio.
All right. Well, continuing thoughts. But my website is www.lifegame.com. And there's a lot of things there. There's some an archive. I need to catch up with that from a show that I do with my friend, Dr. Dean Lloyd, on Wolf Spirit Radio, State of Mind, Quality of Life. There's some excerpts from Evolving the Species, a kind of roundtable discussion I do with Dr. Lorraine Hurley and Dean Lloyd for GCN Radio Network. And, I'm making a lot of statements. We all are. I have so much I would like to share. I want to be questioned. I usually invite open-minded skepticism. Not your job to believe. It's my job to make clear, logical, accessible sense out of things I'm saying. So, the best way is to tailor these things to your real, everyday, functional concerns. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd like to know what's on your mind, any questions you have, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you, all of you.
Always appreciate your time, Am. You're always easy to listen to. Well, maybe not so easy because you use such colorful words, but I like listening to you. Kevin, it's like in the middle of the night for you there. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you for your staying power. Please give us your closing thoughts until next month and your websites and how do we support you.
Well, everybody can find me either on Facebook or LinkedIn. I am an open book. I no longer have a personal website because my life has been under constant and sustained attack by the authorities for the past 5 years now. And I'm just putting it back together. But my primary concern now is to accomplish my goal here in Rome, which is to make sure that Pope Francis speaks up. And I would appreciate some financial help to do this. And those people listening now who would like to help can do so by donating a few dollars to my GoFund. And the address, the website for that is www.gofundme.com/5 capital letter F, capital Q, capital T, capital T, and capital C. That's 5FQTTC. My books and articles are available for the world to see and read, and they are available for free. But anybody who doesn't like to read from a computer screen or from a digital tablet can buy my last book. It's now in print, Killing Us Softly, from Progressive Press, or Amazon or Barnes & Nobles. That's Killing Us Softly, the Global Depopulation Policy. Thank you.
Excellent. I appreciate having you on. We look forward to having you again next month. Pamela, your closing thoughts and your websites, radio shows, how do we listen to you?
Thank you, Matt. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this roundtable and hear everyone's thoughts. And like I said earlier, we do energize each other, and we do fuel each other to move on and to do more work than we're already doing. And I find joy in what I do. I find fulfillment in what I do. And I truly know that we have the ability as human beings to make this shift, that we need in the to come to our consciousness. And I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm thrilled to be here at this time and space. This is a crucial time. And Matt said earlier that we are slated for extinction by those that run the programs and are seemingly in charge right now. And I agree with that. but we can make a difference now. We can change that. We can not comply with the programs. Without our fuel and without us as resources, they will stop dead in the water, because we are the energy behind all of these systems. And when we use the ability to not comply, it'll put the brakes on everything. I really know this. It sounds impossible, but it is not. And Daddy always said an impossibility doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means it's going to take a little more creative effort and more elbow grease, maybe. So my show is called Critical Mass, and it's on puremomentum.net. And my most recent show is on transhumanism, my take, what I see it as. And I would love it if you would all come and listen to that show. And again, I appreciate being here, and I appreciate participating on the radio marathon and encouraging people to not comply on the 15th. So thank you again, and welcome, Kevin, and we look forward to you next month.
Thanks, Pamela. Appreciate you being on. You know, without Karen being here, Karen Tostado, the foundress of UnitedWeStrike.com, there's enough echo in your voice that her presence is felt here as well. Vinny, all the way down in New Zealand, never a loss for words. Closing thoughts, and give us your websites, radio show. How do we listen to you?
Can I cough first of all? No, I'm just joking.
Mute first. That's a professional thing to do, Vinny.
That's what happened last time, isn't it? I am at the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. That's Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question, and Eastwood as in go ahead, make my news. I'm also New Zealand's most subscribed YouTube news channel, and just hit the 14,000 subscriber mark. Yay! And I've got like double the subscribers of the nearest mainstream media competitor in New Zealand, called the New Zealand Herald, which are like the New York Times of New Zealand. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I am a prime example of how when you don't respect somebody, you can do way better work than they are, and have people appreciate you for it. I don't respect the mainstream media. They don't respect any of you, do they? Let's make them look like fools then. I think it's only fair.
Indeed. Thank you, Vinny. Suzanne, the journalist, always good to have you here. Your closing thoughts and your websites, please.
Yes. Well, I want people to understand that when we have information in our hand, like I said before, if we are not willing to do something about it, and that's fine, for whatever reason that is, that's in between you and yourself, and no one's going to judge you on that. But at least pass it along. At least think about someone who might be willing to do something. On the 24th of this month, March Against Monsanto will be a global phenomenon, as it has been for the last couple of years. And I think that if you feel inclined, please go sign up, find out where the march is going to be in your area, and go. It's important for us to know what's in our food. If we're not going to grow it ourselves, and we're not going to support our local organic farmers, then we should at least know what's in the food and make a conscious decision of whether or not we want to eat it. If you want to drink soda that has aspartame and flame retardant in it and aborted fetus tissue for flavoring, that's fine, but at least you know what you're consuming, and then you can make that decision on what you want to do. And my contribution is to give you that information. What you do with it is up to you. But if you don't do anything with it, at least pass it on to someone who might. My name is Suzanne Posel. My website is occupycorporatism.com. The news agency that I started is the usindependent.com. Kevin is a contributor as well as Vinny Eastwood, and I'm very happy that they do so, because the two of them embody what one person can do with given the right information to stand up, not only for themselves, but for all of us.
Thank you, Suzanne. Always great to have you along. Gary, our great producer, without his help, we couldn't be on the air today, taxing his systems, keeping him busy, pushing all those buttons, trying to duck those drones and Hellfire missiles overhead. Your closing thoughts and websites, radio show, how do we listen to it?
Well, let's see. I'm I'm Gary Hendershot. That is my real name. I don't hide from anybody, not even my bill collectors. On the internet, I do have a nom de plume. I am known on the internet as Smart Scarecrow. And if you're really interested in the stuff I do, the easiest thing to do is to follow Smart Scarecrow on Twitter. I always announce just before I'm going to do a broadcast. Right now I'm down to one broadcast a week. I've managed to trim my schedule a little bit, try to get a little bit more time for other things, but I do one broadcast a week. I do a Monday night session on the Rents Radio Network at 8 o'clock in the evening on Mondays. Let's see. I would love to do that Monsanto March, Suzanne, but my daughter's getting married on the 24th, so I'm going to be otherwise occupied. But I'll tell you, I'll be there in spirit. You know, I was one of those dummies when I was raising my kids. I gave them the baby milk formula stuff, and I let them drink their milk, even their breast milk. I used to let them drink that out of plastic bottles. We didn't know any better. You know, I mean, I look back at it now and I say, oh my God, I could have killed my kids. I was so stupid. I did all the wrong things, but I was fortunate. You know, my kids came up healthy. They're brilliant. I'm hoping that the world that I turn over to them is at least a little bit better than the way I found it. I sometimes get a little skeptical because I tell you, you get your nose into as much of the negativity as what's going on out there. You know, for those of us who are kind of embedded in this alternative information scenario, we see some of the worst of what's going on, and sometimes you just you shake your head and you say, are they really doing that? And yeah, they're really doing it. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And how am I going to teach my kids to avoid all this nonsense? How am I going to make it, so that the world that they inherit from me is at least as good as the one I got, maybe just a little bit better. It's sometimes tough, but you do what you can do, and frankly, you just can't worry too much about those things that are beyond your control. And yeah, over the next couple of generations, there's probably going to be a major die-off of human beings. Kevin said it, the world cannot stand a doubling of the population in the next 30 years. So yeah, we're going to see a lot of people die off. Maybe not in my time, but maybe in my kids' time or in my grandchildren's time. You cry for all the babies who won't be born. But, this has happened before. If you look back in human history, it's happened before. There's always survivors. What you got to do is you got to position yourself so you're in the best shape possible to be one of those and make sure that the best of the gene pool carries on.
Well, I believe, thank you, Gary, I appreciate that. I believe, though, that if we clean up the chemtrails, if we can stop Fukushima, if we can stop the fluoridation, if we stop people from taking prescription drugs, if we can stop the GMOs, or people start eating non-GMO products and start buying organic products, the GMOs will go away because of market demand. If we stop mandating that people use 10% of their fuel coming from corn, which could feed the world, you do all that, people will become unzombified and then can start making better choices about who represents them in the government, what form of government they can have, and what choices they have available to them and what freedoms they have. When that happens, you allow technology, people will then allow technologies to be developed that have been suppressed, that could energize the world without depleting resources, feed the world without depleting resources. And I think mankind has a capacity to grow and then have the choice, personal choice, of whether they want to have a family grow or not. And I think we can maintain a balance given the fact that we are free of this chemical extermination and free to make choices, or at least that is my hope. And that's why I appreciate all of you here at UnitedWeStrike.com. You're very powerful voices, and I would encourage you, whenever you're on the air, to keep promoting the idea of UnitedWeStrike.com, promote our marathons, and the ideas that we espouse here of uniting the world in peaceful non-compliance against the New World Order, because we cannot resist the New World Order from a hospital bed. We need to remain healthy and resist this depopulation agenda. My radio show airs on Wolf Spirit Radio the first Saturday of every month, 10 a.m. Pacific, and my guest this month will be Kevin Galele here with us tonight, because I want to introduce him and his angle of the New World Order depopulation program to that audience as well. And I invite everyone here listening tonight to return next month again, the second Saturday of every month. It'll be June 14th, with all of our wonderful hosts that you hear. Great information, and I hope you take that to heart and tell others. Because if you don't tell them, they have no chance, their children have no chance. Their children will never have grandchildren. Okay? I'll give you a clue here, Kevin. What we do here at the close of the show, I'll give a countdown, and at the end of the countdown, we all shout death to the New World Order. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Thank you goes out to all of our producers, all of our hosts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Death to the New World Order.
That's the New World Order. I have the documents.
And no, I am not a crook.
Fragrance, yes.
These aren't the droids you're looking for. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
This is United We Strike Radio on the International Community Radio Network. Don't buy, don't comply, ask why. UnitedWeStrike.com radio.